Hello, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in to the Rhythmic Resonance Podcast. This is your host, TR, and this week I sat down with Colter Olmstead, aka the Skinny Filmer, aka the Swiss Army Knife, aka Uncle Colter, to me at least. Colter is a videographer here in Missoula, Montana, with over 10 plus years of experience in the film industry, and everything he does really shines bright. He's been involved in numerous film and music projects around the state, including music videos and documentaries such as Bring Them Home and Last of the Nobodies. Some of the very first local hip-hop music videos I ever saw were filmed by Colter, and it's been really amazing to get to know him and have the moments of my first exposure to local music come full circle by getting to sit down with him and chat about how he started, where he is now, and hear him share some of his experiences and perspectives about the local scene here in Montana. So before I get too far, here's Colter Olmstead on the Rhythmic Resonance Podcast, episode number 4 at Area 41 Collective. Where'd you grow up?
It all started. So I grew up in the capital of Montana, Helena, the Queen City, as they call it. I used to know the reason. I should have done some research on and remembered. But yeah, Helena. Grew up on kind of like the west side. Went to Capitol High School and yeah, just like a neighborhood kid running around with the other kids in our neighborhood causing a ruckus. So yeah.
For sure. Like what was the average day for young Colter?
Oh, if I was on my bike 90% of the time, like if I'm not in school, I'm on my bike type thing.
Yeah.
We had a park called Barney Park that was kind of by my house, and it was like, yeah, at some point after school, you're biking there to see what's up. You know, they have basketball courts, baseball field.
Yeah.
Something was always happening there. So,
yeah.
just, Helena's kind of built on the hill, on a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And so, cruising down and go like 30 miles an hour on my bike, blowing through,
Just flying.
going through intersections that are definitely not all stops to get down there in a few seconds, and then walk my bike back up the hill to get back home. But it was worth it.
No, for sure. Did you have like a gang of friends, or was it more like solo dolo?
Yeah, like growing up, we had a bunch of kids that kind of just lived in the neighborhood and in kind of like the block radius that I lived in, and then kind of the greater area. We'd all end up at Barney Park and stuff like that. And then getting into high school, I moved to kind of like the middle, the north end of the valley, and had like a bunch of kids that I did cross country with that all kind of lived in the neighborhood. So we just kind of moved to the gang essentially.
Yeah.
So we all together. Yeah.
That's sweet. What were you like really into when you were young? I know you mentioned cross country, biking obviously, but like sports, were you like big into music? Like what was kind of that for you?
Yeah, I think I was kind of like an amoeba, I would say, growing up, where like I didn't really have a lot of passions, but I was like really interested in a lot of things. So, obviously growing up next to a park and there's a basketball court, basketball was like the easy thing to do.
Totally.
I was pretty into baseball as well, and because of that, and then, just kind of whatever the crew was up to. I didn't, identity didn't really come together for me until later, and so I kind of just like went with the the flow of things, and I was able to learn a lot of stuff, a lot of cool things that I'm still like interested in.
Yeah.
And then other stuff, not so much, but I was a late bloomer as far as growing. And
Feel
so
that.
basketball was like definitely a hobby more than a pursuant sport. Cause I was 4'11" until my junior year of high school.
No way.
And then I grew 11 inches in 6 months.
Oh,
and so
that's like my brother.
Yeah, and it, like, as he could probably say, it sucks like on your hamstrings and your hips and
your
stuff like
knees.
that. Yeah, your joints are in pain. But I thank cross country for that, because you're you're running, but then you're also stretching multiple times a day. So I think that's the only reason I could help with that. But yeah, the only sports that I really played in at post, once I got into high school, was cross country and track, and then played 1 year of basketball.
Sweet.
But just with the height thing, it was kind of a disadvantage, so I could only go so far. But
yeah,
that was kind of my high school days, and then my junior year of high school, there was a new elective class called video broadcasting, and they called it Bruin Vision at our school, because you'd make some videos, and then you had potential to show a video that you made during the announcements. Every classroom had a little TV in it, and so you could, if your video made the cut, you could show it. Yeah, and so that was kind of where the video side of it started. And would do the stupidest videos, like made some like Lonely Island parody videos and like throw it on the ground type thing. And shout out to Lonely Island for giving us ideas, I guess. But
the inspiration of
it was like very early YouTube days, so it was like there wasn't a lot of viralities other than like Lonely Island and the few other videos and stuff like that. So
that's great.
We shoot on like mini DV cameras, and they had little tape, cassette tapes in them, and you have to come and like in real time put them on the computer and like watch all the stuff. So you got really good at shooting as basic as you could. Like I'm not shooting extra shots to, now today you're like, I got to get coverage so I can edit that. We weren't doing that. We were trying to shoot everything in order so we didn't have to edit, type thing. So,
totally.
But that's where I met like a lot of my, film and early music day friends.
Like who?
Met Jesse Froreich in that class. His artist name's Farch.
Okay.
And that's kind of where our friendship started. That and
in high school.
Yeah, in high school.
Crazy.
He was 1 year behind me, but.
And what year was this?
That was, I think, either my junior or senior year, because I took video broadcasting twice, because they like after the first year they added like video broadcast 2, type thing. So I think Jesse was in the first part of it, and then I was in the second year, but we were in the same class type thing. And so we did that, and that's kind of where the film interest started. And my teacher, she had gone to, shout out Miss Hill, she had gone to MSU and said there was a film program. And so I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was like pretty good academics, but like didn't have a path that I wanted to go.
Sure.
And so went and did like one of the Campus Friday things, where you go up and tour the campus and everything. And it was actually like, that's probably like a very pivotal moment in my life, where we go to the Campus Friday and we missed the tour of the film building. And so I was like super bummed out, and I'm with my mom, and she's like, oh, well, whatever, like we can let's just go walk in and we can look at it.
Totally. And
we walk in and we just kind of look around. There's a lot of the stuff's closed up. It's in the summer, or early spring or whatever. And this kid walks up and he's like, oh, are you guys here for the tour? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, well, we just missed it, but I just got off work and I work at the equipment checkout. I'll go grab a key and I'll just give you a tour. Gives me like I can't remember his last name. His first name was John. He graduated. He was a senior then, so like I just missed him in the going to school together. But gave me the most awesome tour ever. Showed me literally like all the nooks and crannies of the broadcast building and film program, and gave me all this insight and of like classes and stuff like that. Essentially expert salesmanship. Like, I don't know what John's doing now, but like he could have sold, you know, snow to this snowman type thing. So after that experience, I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, you know, parents at first, they both went to Montana State. My mom went there just for 1 year and then transferred to Western, but then my dad graduated from there, and big Bobcat fans growing up. Yeah. And so it was like kind of the, oh yeah, of course you can go to MSU situation, but then the film part was definitely way more hesitant. They didn't understand, you know, why Montana had a film program. What they're like, there's no jobs, no movies are getting made here type thing. And so they were very against it, and a lot of I had to like compromise with them because my dad's like very business oriented, and so I compromised on like, I'll double major in business and film. Oh, okay. You know, to be able to do it. Yeah. And so kind of from there got into MSU and went through the film program, and like it's
the rest is history.
Yeah, you know, the film program's an interesting one because they have what's called a film gate, and so only a certain amount of freshmen get into the next year and get into the actual program. Oh, really? So you have to have like good enough grades, and stuff like that. And the year that I was a freshman, it was the most kids I've ever had, still to this day, apply for the gate, and so. Wow. I think like 48 kids got in. They'd send you your rank. Oh. And I was like 57th or something like that. So I wasn't like right on the cut, but I was a step away type thing. So I didn't make the gate my first year and had to go back. And that was kind of like justification for my parents being like, see, I told you, like, maybe you shouldn't do this. Yeah. For sure. And so, you know, luckily, I say this luckily, a couple of my really, really good film friends didn't make the gate as well, and they were considering whether they should go back or not. And we all like, we're going to go back and we're going to hold ourselves accountable. Yeah. We're going to crush it. That's great. And it was a really cool experience because that, you know, that drive and ambition kind of started of I need to prove people, you know, situation. Right. Trying to prove yourself. Yeah. In those early years. Definitely started there. And, you know, Zane Clampett and my buddy Rob Schneeweiss, they're like crushing it in the film industry now. And they're like a big part of why I was able to be successful in the film industry, and then also to like where I'm at, you know, today. Totally. And so it was definitely like those connections that I built early days. That's why I'm like most thankful about being able to go to film school. Yeah. Damn. I got like the whole like college history right there. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So early love kind of high school, found film, and were you just like intrigued by it? Like what about it really made you like interested in it, you know? Yeah, I think there's kind of two moments that pop up. One moment is like, I've never been I think that there's two types of people that go to film school. And there's the person that loves movies, loves watching cinema and like the history of it. And I was never like, I watch movies and stuff, but I was like never like, let me talk about the greatest movies ever, Citizen Kane, you know, like all those movies. Like, nah. But I really like the elements of a film, you know, the hands-on technicality, the camaraderie of like, it takes a lot of pieces to make a final product. Yeah, right. There's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that takes to make a film, and so it was kind of those aspects. And then I think it was my freshman year of college. This guy named Eric Brown, he has done so much camera opping in Hollywood. He shoots a lot of camera ops for the Mission Impossible movies.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Really good, steady cam operator. He graduated from Montana State, or lived in Helena.
Wow.
And so he came and spoke at the at MSU at one point, and then realized that he was kind of like one step away from a family friend.
Wow.
And so I really just like started talking to him about the reason he got into it, and like the aspects of when he started, and like A River Runs Through It was happening in Montana, that movie. And so he got into it because he's like, I can film in Montana. And that was kind of the aspect, is like, I love Montana. I want to be here. This could be my avenue to be able to tell the stories and work with people that are in the communities that I grow up in.
Yeah.
And, you know, the situations that I grew up in and knew and stuff like that. So
For sure.
I'd say it was those two elements. And then like specifically on the music side.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. Yeah.
It kind of branched off of like doing the stupid parody videos in, you know, high school, and then get into college and kind of start learning the actual technicality and skills and stuff. And, you know, Jesse, and then I had met Zach and Andrew, who was another artist, started making music. And we're like, let's shoot some music videos. You know, you guys making awesome songs. Like, you know, we were just kind of like a bunch of teenagers. I think the first time I met Zach James,
shout out Zach.
Yeah, we were like just hanging out in the summer at Jesse's house. Like, he was making a beat, and then a bunch of people would just like pull up, and we were just like hanging out, and some people would freestyle, and this like little kid showed up. And I was like, who the heck is this kid? And he's like this 7th grader. He's got braces and stuff. Comes up with like this little flat bill, and then just starts like rapping his ass off. And you're like, I was like, what the heck? Who is this kid? And you know, that's how my first experience with Zach, and it's kind of just been that forward. You know, like Zach just keeps blowing me away with the music that he makes. But so we kind of like formed a group called Kid Wasp.
Who is a part of Kid Wasp?
And yeah, so I was like the videographer of it.
Okay.
And then we had 3 artists, Farch, Zach James, and AM was Andrew. And we were just like a bunch of kids from the valley, the Helena Valley, and made music together. And that so we just kind of started, you know, putting music videos online. And from there, because I was living in, you know, going to school in Bozeman, kind of started getting some traction. And you know, just from them doing their music and getting buzz, the videos started to get around, and started to work with a lot of artists in the Bozeman area. You know, Buckshot Kill It, Nick Busy, Contact, Filth and Foul. And then even bridged over to Missoula, started working with the Codependents. You know, Hemingway and the Organics is back in Bozeman, I guess. But Wormwood, I was very early on, worked with Wormwood. You know, just a lot of artists in Montana that I didn't even realize were, you know, I didn't realize the hip hop scene was existent until we started making music and putting the videos out. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, all these, you know, people start showing up, and started working with them. And it was kind of cool to be embraced by that community, and be able to help out in a situation, because, you know, the last thing you think of in Montana is hip hop music is a, you know, a relevant thing. And at that time it was just starting to like really get some traction to play at. I mean, they were playing at smaller venues and stuff, but it was definitely the early days of building. The building blocks were there to kind of see some stuff start to come to fruition.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, even becoming like an integral part of the community through filming, you know, because I mean, when I was first starting out, one of the very first hip hop, like local hip hop videos I ever saw was filmed by you, and I didn't even know it. Like singing in the shower, Zach James and like Tylo Smith under the name Kid Wavy.
Kid Wavy, yeah.
And it was just like, didn't even know it, but like you're out here filming these videos for these people that are like making local music.
Yeah.
And it's crazy just how you were a part of that integral part, how it's not just like about like the rapper all the time, but it's like you found a niche where you're filming these videos for these artists, you know?
Yeah, and the interesting thing is like I didn't originally just be like, oh, I'm gonna start making hip hop videos, you know.
Right,
I just liked the art form of watching a music video. Like we didn't have cable at my house growing up, and
Same.
you know, so I'd go over to my grandma's house or my aunt's house for Sunday dinner or whatever sometimes, and they'd have cable, and the only thing I wanted to watch was like VH1, you know, and you're like watching videos from the 80s or like MTV music video channel and stuff like that, and because then you could listen to the music, but then you're also watching a video type thing, and
Exactly.
so that's kind of where the music video aspect. So I was like, I want to try this, and you know, Jesse and Zach and Andrew were the three people that I knew made music, and so that was kind of how it started. And
yeah,
it was kind of interesting how I never really got to connect. You know, I did videos here and there with some bands and stuff like that, but it kind of has always just stayed in the hip hop field.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know, I love hip hop music, and I think that it's a really good way to storytell. And I see the passion and know-how that people have here, and so I just want to be able to help contribute to tell their story and visualize it.
Yeah, and you have for 10 plus years or 20.
Well, not that many, not that old yet, but I think Jesse and I made our first video, and it's actually coming up. It was sometime in April of 2012, I think, was the first video we made.
So wild.
Yeah. I just filmed in his house one night. He was just making a beat, and I was like, I'm going to bring my camera.
Yeah.
And I just start filming him while he's making the beat and stuff.
So cool. So cool.
Yeah, so.
That's dope, dude. So through all of that, working with artists, becoming more established in the community, and then how does that translate to where you're at right now?
Yeah, I think the community element has always been a big piece of it, and I think kind of the specific people I've really connected with in the music field of Montana over the years, their mentality and desire to embrace the community has been in the same lane as mine. And so I think that I've just been able to use the tools I've learned and built to help those communities. And a lot of the people that I still work with today or still have really good relationships, they're also doing things in different avenues in their community, right? Shadow, for Shadow and I, we started working in the codependent stuff, but then after that kind of ended and he and Eric started working on stuff, we continued working, we continued our friendship, and it has just developed and developed and developed. And now him and I are able to, we've built these resources and stuff to give back and, really contribute in more ways than just being a part of something. We're helping to develop, or at least trying to develop the next group of artists to keep it going and stuff like that.
100%.
So it's kind of an interesting chapter of his and I's lives right now, because we're not phased out or whatever, but we're not those young spry kids 19, 20 years old that are just gonna go do it just cause, right? And we've seen a lot of things, and I think that we're just continuing to try to build the good, and the big thing that him and I always say is like we versus me mentality.
Yeah, totally.
The community is always going to thrive for everyone instead of thriving for an individual. So
totally.
That's kind of been our goal, and that's kind of what we continue to do with all the stuff that him and I work together on, and all the, the videos that I continue to work on now.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, like, since we're talking about community, I feel like this would be a good way to step into like talking about Last of the Nobodies, because that's a huge thing that happened last year, 2 years ago. I need a definition of what Last of the Nobodies is, because I feel like it's been misinterpreted, or it's been like, even I, just not even being a part of it and just hearing about it, I needed like a full range of definition of what Last of the Nobodies is from you as someone who was a part of the creation of the idea.
Yeah. So the term Last, or like the name of Last of the Nobodies, let's start with that, kind of came up because one, Montana's the last best place, and two, just like working, I guess I like working in the music field on the side that I do. I've seen a lot of really passionate, talented artists work for 10 years and they don't get any, like, their support plateaus. Yeah. They don't get any opportunities out. And a lot of that is just because of infrastructure and stuff. But
just being in a place where there is no structure.
And because of the lack of resources, infrastructure, those types of things, I'd say that like a lot of Montana people are never, I mean, you don't even get like looked at by the local community. Like, people kind of scoff at if you say you're a hip hop artist type thing. And so,
for sure. Oh yeah.
The nobody, that's kind of where the Nobodies aspect, someone said it in a song. I can't remember. I don't want to misquote someone, but they essentially said like, we're just a bunch of nobodies here. And so that's kind of where the idea is for the name. And then the kind of thing that came to fruition is Shadow and I just, we've always been big parts of community. And pre-COVID, there were so many individual artists that were like on the cusp of doing really positive things musically, going on, there's a handful of artists that had tours popping. There was local, like bigger local venues that were allowing local artists to open for traveling acts. Those types of things were in place, and it got gutted during COVID. Yeah. Like, any infrastructure that got built the 10, 15 years prior. Yeah. And those are all baby steps to get to where they did at 2019, that just got erased. It was like the building that we were, as a hip hop community, we're building up, just got demolished, and we had to pick the pieces up and then try to start to build again. And so, Shadow and I had this idea, we started working because I moved to Missoula in 2020 during COVID, and we started working really closely together on some other projects. And it's like, we need to do something to bring back kind of the positivity,
the energy,
of hip hop, and the grassroots of our introductions to hip hop were community based, right? Like groups and stuff like that. And so it kind of started with an idea of, what if we had like a weekend and we got a group of artists together and we just like let them, let's just work on something for a weekend and see what happens. And then we kind of started, building it out, and we're like, what if we go bigger than that? And I think about that time, the Revenge of the Dreamers album, the Dreamville album, collaboration album came out, and they released a documentary on the behind the scenes of it getting made, and how they kind of just like rented out a studio space and invited people and stuff like that. Yeah. And obviously we don't have a recording studio of that size in Montana. That doesn't exist. And so that kind of inspired us to, figure out a way where we could get everyone, from around the state to a location.
Yeah.
The easiest thing to do there was like find a vacation house that we could get access to and rent, essentially. And so that kind of set everything into motion. And it was pure, like the Last of the Nobodies idea was purely to give a unified voice to the state of Montana. And we knew, like, we didn't have any budget. Like we were like, I saved for 3 years, like strenuously saved for 3 years just to be able to get the most basic, get food for everyone and to like pay their gas to get there and then pay for the Airbnb. And so it was like all coming out of my pocket and a little of Shadow's pocket and Josh's pocket too. And it's just like, we pulled all of our resources together. Like we didn't rent any gear. It was just all gear that we pooled together.
Yeah.
And it just was like, the entire production is entirely community based. Like everyone from the film crew to the artists sacrificed so much to be there, but it was for the purpose of, this is bigger than an individual situation, hopefully.
Totally. And
everyone, we kind of chose the group based on, we had a way bigger list of people we wanted to include. And we kind of just had to slim it down based on the size of the capacity that we could hold in the space that we were in.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
A lot of it was people that we, had worked with and that we thought that the vision of community and, putting your ego aside, those values aligned with those artists.
Totally.
And then we tried to just get as much of Montana diversity as we could musically.
Totally.
And we did our best to do that. Obviously, I don't think that we
can't ever be perfect.
Yeah, right.
You
and this is the first project, so we just at some point we just had to cap it and be like, this is what we have, this is what we got to work with type thing. And so we kind of wrangled the group, and it was like 2020. It was a blizzard in Missoula one day, and I woke up. It was like in 2023 in February, and it was like 6 a.m, and I called Shadow, and he was sleeping, and he like answered.
Yeah.
I was like, we're gonna make this happen, and he's like, okay. And I'm like, no, if this is the only thing I do this year, this is gonna happen. And so
what was like, what did you like wake up at? Like what made you wake up and just like decide that day?
I don't know. I like woke up and just had like this feeling of like motivation and inspiration somehow.
Yeah.
I wish I knew like what I was doing the day, night before or whatever. Maybe I had like some crazy dream I just don't remember. But it was just like I woke up and, at that point I was like working out of my house. And so like I just literally walked into my office and it was blizzarding outside. I just looked in and I was like, I got to make it happen. Yeah. And so essentially from there, we just like I think by the end of that week, we had sent the email list out to, hey, we're doing this project. Can you hop on a Zoom call? And fortunately, every single person that was a part of the project answered the Zoom call and showed up to it. And we pitched them the idea. Yeah. And everyone was like, whatever you need to make it happen. We said, these are the dates we're thinking. Does that work? And everyone said, we'll make it happen. And so from there is essentially like, we got to find the space and we got to figure out how to get people there. Yeah. And so I think that was, we had the Zoom in March and we shot in August. And 10 days of incredible creation happened. Yeah. And the craziest thing like about the whole project is I was just waiting for something bad to happen, like, an ego trip to, people butting heads that way, or something like some discrepancy in the music, or like a hard drive to fail, or, like something bad to happen.
Totally.
And the worst thing that happened is the afternoon of the day before the last day, the water in the well of the house we were staying at stopped working because obviously, like, we're giving showers to, 15 people a day, 15 to 20 people a day in that house. And so it just like, we just like overran the well. And so we kind of just like ended it there. We're like, we don't have water, so you can stay the night if you want and keep making work, but like, do we gotta leave tomorrow type thing. And so that was the only bad thing. And so much positivity came out of it. We created 66 songs in 10 days.
It's so crazy.
And it just blew my mind how much the community came together to make that project happen. And it's just like so many memories.
Totally.
Still like,
what was your
think about?
What was like a top fun memory that you have, or just like a quote, or I don't know, just something that like when you think of it, you chuckle.
So I think my biggest bummer thing that I missed was when Shampoo got created, because we had wrapped for the night. Everyone had, gone to the lodging cabin and gone to sleep. The film crew had all left to go dump cards and everything. And a few of those guys just stayed up because they were just staying in tents outside. Yeah. They stayed up, and that creation of Shampoo got made. And I was just like so bummed that I missed that. But I think my two favorite moments is one night we had wrapped, and I actually think this is maybe when Shampoo got made. Farch and I were just sitting on the deck chilling, and he's like, "Hey, can you come track me? I have this idea." Yeah. And I was like, "Okay, cool, yeah, whatever." Like,
years later,
I'll do anything that you want. If you're gonna record, like, that's the hardest thing, is to get Jesse to record now. And it's like, whenever you want to record, I'm there type thing.
Totally.
And so we go into one of the bedroom studio spaces, and he brings up this mellow mic beat, and it's kind of a beat that I asked Mello to make as like a possible intro track. And so Jesse comes in, and he just starts like saying this spoken word, which is now the intro.
Yes.
And I'm like tearing up right now, but
no, dude, it hit so hard. Yeah, man. It did. Like it felt like Jesse saw me when I first listened to it, the project. I just felt seen as an artist. Just like, this guy understands like what I go through as an artist, right? And like just what he said and the way he portrayed it, just it hit so damn hard, where you're like, this is Montana. This is what it feels like to be an artist in Montana.
Yeah, it's the epitome of living here and trying to create, right?
Yes,
and
totally.
All the things that we have to deal with outside influence and that type of stuff. And he one-taked it, and I was just
no way.
I just sat there, and I was like, this is what this project is. Like, if nothing else gets created, like, this is the moment that, like, I'm going to hold on to.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
So that was, a very important moment for, like, me personally, and especially with Jesse. And then another really fun project, or a fun thing, is when it was like one of the mornings, and everyone was kind of like finishing breakfast up, and him put this beat on, and all of a sudden there were like 15 people in one of the rooms, and everyone's like, it's silent except for the beat playing. And I walk in there, and everyone's just sitting on their phones typing.
Yeah,
like
writing.
vigorously typing.
Yeah.
And it was like a race to see who could record the first verse of, and it ended up being Running Back. In everyone, I mean, just like verse after verse after verse happened. I mean, I think that whole song, I think there's a couple verses that got put on later in the day once people that weren't there heard it, but
yeah.
I think almost all of those verses got put down in like 30 minutes.
That's
like
crazy.
It was just energy was so high. Everyone just vibing.
Yeah.
And it was the thing that started the day too. And it was just like, here we go type thing. And
totally.
So that song is like a cool encapsulation of like the community, everyone being in the room at the same time, like just like listening, someone would lay a verse on, then we all listen to it and it would just like go crazy. And those are the moments that I think I really like cherish going forward, and I really tried to capture those moments in the film. Once I got to the documentary side of it as well. And,
so talk about like the documentary, because there is a documentary that went along with this project, and like what was kind of the goal of the documentary, to like what message were you trying to capture? I mean, obviously community and stuff, but like what was like the main message, would you say, and like how did you capture that message?
I think the main message with the film is to show that this group of artists is not the only group of artists in Montana, but the goal with this project is to give a voice to Montana and show that, hey, we're here and we make really, important music as well.
Totally.
And I think that, as we just kind of talked about a little bit, like growing up in Montana, there's a lot of things going against you, but the biggest thing if you want to make music is like there's no recordings, like not that many recording studios. There's not a lot of access to all these resources. And so there's a lot of really talented people that don't have the tools to be able to create, even in this world where it's like really simple to get like some basic stuff, right? Like to get high end professional quality sound to make your music, like there's not a lot of opportunity for that in Montana. And so to show that a group of artists can pool all together their resources and come together with trying to create, a unified sound to help push Montana further. I think that's the goal with the project, is to kind of show that all these artists that have continually been told no over and over for 10 years of doing hip-hop music and been told no over and over, they're still doing it. And that resiliency of we're not going to stop,
right?
And I think that can be, someone can connect to that wherever you're at. You can be in the middle of Kansas, you can be in inner city LA, right? Like you can connect with the fact that like, hey, I'm going to make the music that I want to make, and I deserve to be heard too. So
totally. Yeah. And that, I mean, I've seen the doc and I've got, that message is very easily portrayed. It's just like, just being out here, even being an artist, it's like, how do I figure out a route to get not only to my community, but also even like outside of my own state? And like, how do I mean, it's a lot easier now with like social media and, the internet and stuff. It's a lot easier than maybe 10 years ago when, as we've chatted, like none of that was really a thing, and people really were a big part of their community and they made more impact just because they didn't have that ability to stretch further out. But like, that is what it is in Montana. It's really like, there is no structure. And so like working towards creating that structure has been like a huge thing,
and I think that's kind of the biggest thing we still face in Montana. Like Ellington is not like this thing is going to change everything. I think it's just a piece of the puzzle that we need to keep building.
Yes.
You know, that building analogy that I used earlier, it's like we've just put up one of the side beams, right? Like we need to keep building the building.
Yeah.
And I think that the goal with the documentary from a local standpoint is just show like these are normal people.
Right.
These people aren't like, just because you have this stigma of what a Montana hip hop artist may or may not be,
or just hip hop in general.
Yeah, or hip hop in general.
Yeah.
Like these people are people that, you know, go to the same restaurants as you. They work next to you. You know, like most of us are just working day jobs like everyone else, trying to get by.
Yeah.
But we just have this passion that is hip hop music and hip hop genre, and so just keep continuing to try to like open eyes of people like in our own communities, because where we live, there's a very weird notion of what hip hop is and what it represents. And I think that this documentary hopefully opens eyes to what people actually that do the music actually are going through, and that they're just normal humans like everyone else.
Exactly. And I think taking people off that pedestal a little bit, you know, as like artists, like we do value art in our society, but also like it's removing them from that high up pedestal that we all tend to put people who make art on, you know, because it's like we look up to them as like these creative people with insight, and it's just like we're just normal people. Like we just want to be understood, you know, as like creatives, and we want to be seen, we want to be understood, and we just in a way don't want to be treated differently. We want to be treated the same, you know. That's really what it is.
And just have like pride in what you do, and be willing to, you know, like being an artist in general, like you have to be more vulnerable than anyone to, you know, have the courage to put your music out there, let alone like the willingness to like go and perform it type thing. And so I think just continuing to show that like people are human and we have different likes, but that doesn't mean that should look down on them.
No, not at all.
Creating's creating, and in whatever format, like you have a chance to connect with someone else, and that's I think the biggest like coolest thing about art in general is like you have the ability to connect with someone on so many levels.
Totally. Yeah. And that's it's beautiful, man. I mean, that's why we do it, you know. Even like from the filming perspective, it's just like capturing these moments of energy, excitement, sadness, you know, anything, someone being funny, like that really like just makes you connect with just people in general, is just capturing those moments. And so you kind of have this like data first person view of like this experience that happened, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And just like that just made me think of a section of the film where Clayton is filming and Josh is like, get in the booth. And he like raps a verse, and Josh makes fun of him for, you know, wearing his Birkenstock sandals. He's like, you can get away with or you can get away with wearing sandals like that when you can rap this good. And, you know, he's just, I think that's the cool part, is like you never expect certain people to, you know, like underestimate them, and like people that you don't think can make the best music, you know.
Or just something worth listening to.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can just go out there and kill it and be like some of the craziest things you've ever heard. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, the guy that came on to the shoot as a camera guy ends up like having some of the most verses on the project, because he just was like inspired enough to start creating. And I was like, I'm not gonna say no to that. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
Yeah.
Totally. I love that. And that's how it is. Just inspiration at its finest.
Yeah.
Where are you sitting at now with like what you're doing with your career, with LOTN happening, with the doc coming out? to the public on the 30th at the Roxy here in Missoula. Like, where do you feel as though you'll be moving towards next? Or not even like moving towards something, but like the goal, for the next little bit of piece of time?
I mean, the biggest thing right now is, I'm just very excited for people to be able to see the film and give, the cool part with the music got a lot of people excited locally.
Oh, yeah.
Which is awesome. The show went really well, and, we sold out the Top Hat venue.
It was such a good
over
show.
500 people showed up, which is super cool to see that support.
Yeah.
And I think the exciting part with the film is it's getting into festivals around the world, the country and the world.
Yeah.
Into people, people are watching it that have no idea that we make music out here, right? And so it's giving them a glimpse of what the artists here do. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really cool potential to get more eyes on the state in all genres of music, in all art forms. And I'm just really excited to be able to, have the ability to tell the story that hopefully continues.
Yeah.
We're Shadow you now are a part of this, and whether you like it or not.
For sure.
We have weekly meetings of all these next steps of what we're trying to do, and continue to try to have community events and show out for our local people that are supporting us here, and then keep trying to growing. And we're starting to fundraise now for the second one.
Beautiful.
Because I think the biggest thing historically in Montana is there's been a lot of one-off situations where something really good has happened and then nothing happens after it. And so making sure that we don't fall into that trap again. And, sometimes going slow is better than not going at all. And so,
slow motion's better than no motion.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And, so just continue trying to develop this thing that we're kind of umbrella using as last of the Nobodies to umbrella under, and, build community in our different areas of the state that we're in, and try to keep, growing as a state, as a creative community, and whatever facets that is in film and music. And it's all about collaboration and community connection.
100%.
Cultivating that artwork, cultivating those young minds.
Like, they're not, like, letting people know that they're not alone. Like, there is people out there.
Yep.
I mean, because even like when I started, I didn't know anybody, and it was scary. It was like, I don't know how I'm gonna make this happen. If I'm like me and maybe my homie or a few other choice people, that's all I know. But then realizing that, like, there is something to look forward to. There is something to be excited about, that there are other people that I can drive an hour or 2-3 hours away and meet up with and create something amazing. Or now we have the internet, just to be able to, like, work with people over the internet. But, like, just knowing that you're not the only person who's doing it, which is, like, exciting. For one, it's a challenge too. Like, now you have to come ready. You have to step up your game. You have to do the best you can, and, like, but the main focus of just, like, building that community and bringing people together is, like, a huge part, I think, of, like, the future of Montana music in general.
Yeah, I think it's the only way that we can really, get a word out. Yeah. As far as the greater hip hop community, music community goes in North America or the world even, it's like, it's going to be a lot harder for an individual to make it out than it is for a group of like-minded people all working together to continue to push the envelope. So
right.
Shadow and I have always been community based people, and
100%.
that's not changing anytime soon. And you know, I don't have, like, people keep asking me, it's like, when is LOTN 2 happening? And I don't know when, but it is. It's not if, it's when. Yeah. So
totally.
We just gotta keep moving forward and, you know, diving into those avenues of fundraising and continuing to push the product that we do have, because we have a pretty good proof of concept.
Yeah, totally. No, I mean, it got me here, you know, like just meeting people, and then seeing this thing of like, there's people working at something like bigger than just like our own personal motives as artists, and like doing the ciphers with you guys and just meeting you, and then realizing like, oh, there is something bigger than just my own self-interest. Like there's a chance to build something and become a part of something that's positive, that has a large impact radius. And just the fact of like, it's just so good. It was needed, you know. I know we talked about COVID a little bit and how it just like wiped it out. And it was just like, I remember going to shows before COVID, and then after it was like, what happened?
Where did everyone go?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone kind of like fell back. But also, I wouldn't even say it's on the artists either. I feel like there's a lot of it.
I think there's a lot of different elements. There's a lot to why of elements. It got destroyed and stuff.
Totally.
But, yeah, and I think the biggest, one of the biggest takeaways, just, I think we're like 7 months now since the album was released, and the documentary's about to be released here shortly. But just the coolest thing that I've seen come out of, as a result of Last of the Nobodies, is all of the other collaboration projects that have happened, whether it's artists that were part of LOTN or other artists in Montana. Like, there's been some really good projects that have come out of the state in the last like year.
Totally.
And I think a lot of it, like, whether people want to say or not, like it could have been FOMO or competitiveness of Last of the Nobodies happening, but it really, I think, kick-started a drive that was missing in Montana since COVID.
100%.
And I think that that's a good thing.
Yes.
I think that we need that bar to be raised again.
Right.
I think that we need to keep, being willing to critique one another. I think we need to be able to hold each other accountable, and really try to raise everyone's talent level up so that everything keeps getting better and better.
Totally. Because it's like, what's keeping you showing up every day? Like at least here, I know that it's very like relaxed, at least for the scene. Like you go somewhere like LA or like New York, and people are always working. They're making connections always. It's an everyday thing. There's no other thought process but making the dream happen. And here it's very like, it's going to happen, but when, And so there's like this loss of energy almost. And so like seeing that happen, and then seeing all of the things that have happened since then, has been like, like let's keep pedaling. Like let's keep the motion going forward, because that's what we need.
Well,
right
in those
now.
Bigger cities too, you have all these avenues of potential things you can get to, right?
Totally.
Like you can get to big, venues, and then grow in
or record deals. Or
get a sign with a label, go on tour type thing.
Totally.
You just have so many more eyes and potential outreaches of avenues. That doesn't exist here. Like there's no infrastructure for that. Like the thing right now is like you can play at a bar, in the basement, and you can only do that so many times before your head starts hitting that ceiling that's so low. And once you do that enough times, it's really easy for people to burn out and be like, well, what's the point of this if there's no avenue of growth,
right?
Yeah.
Totally.
And so I think that as a music art industry in Montana, we need to build better relationships with venues. We need to start like
building bridges.
Yeah, just building bridges and build that stuff up that we had pre-COVID. with relationships, that holding people accountable to the bar, right?
Yes.
And saying like, hey, this is the bar. So if you're not meeting that bar, then like you need to either work on your stuff or like, keep at it. And so I think that we just got to be okay, because I think that the defensiveness and ability to take critique are not great in the state. And I don't think I think it's just because of the lack of infrastructure and stuff. Like there's no one, everyone compares themselves to other people in the state, and it doesn't matter because you go outside of the state and no one knows who you are, type thing. And so we got to continue to like move the bar so that eventually like people can, in the Northwest or whatever, regionally, know who people are and stuff like that, and want to see you. And
totally.
Yeah, there's a lot of elements that I think we still have a long ways to go, but I think we're on the way.
Yeah, we're building that foundation.
We're going towards that direction at least.
Totally. No, I agree. And that's great. I'm like really excited for the future and to just like feel more part of the community and be, invested in seeing that develop into something like really special. And especially being in Montana and kind of the last best place, seeing like the last avenue kind of come to fruition, which is awesome.
Yeah, we're heading in the direction. Got a long way to go, but we're there. We're getting there.
Yep. Just got to keep on pushing.
Keep on pushing. Absolutely.
Totally. Well, I guess like to kind of wrap it up, just what advice would you give people? I know we've just talked about continuing to keep pushing, but like what advice would you give to like young creative people or just creative people in general to like keep pushing forward, to keep showing up every day? Like what are the elements in your eyes do you think would be helpful to tell someone who might be struggling with that?
Yeah, I think there's two things that come to mind. And the first one is connection. I think that, like you said, when you first start out, you may be in a place that you don't think that anything's happening. Right. But doing some research, doing some outreach, and just figuring out who else is creating in your area. With social media, it's really easy to just compare yourself to the top person, right?
Always. Daily comparison.
Yeah, in whatever facet it is. Like, and so I think it's being more grounded and finding out that the people, most people are just human. And if you reach out to them, I would say the majority of people will reach back out to you, connect with you. And so if you can find people that are like-minded in your community that you can either like relay info to, send your art to for, critique, that type of stuff, I think that'll really help build a foundation in your creative process. I think that's needed. I think critique is a big thing that, especially I see here, that doesn't get addressed enough. Yeah. I think that we have too many people that have small circles that have a bunch of yes men that everything that they make is really good, where they don't. It's not saying that something's bad. It's just saying that
they're not challenging and pushing people above their limit or what they know to be their limit.
Yep. And getting people to think outside of their box and create in new ways and push their comfort zone.
Totally.
The second thing I would say is, if you're in a certain field, like I'll use film for instance. Like, of course. Obviously, I'm not going to compare myself to Tarantino, Christopher Nolan, Spielberg, like all those people, right? Because there's no way. Like, those guys have been doing it for, Greta Gerwig's been doing it for 20 years longer than me, like type thing. And so, see how they. Like, I think the biggest thing is learning from people that you look up to. Like, the biggest thing that I can say is, like, figure out how they did it and then apply that information to your situation. Yeah. because
fundamentals.
Yeah,
you
me
know?
going to Montana State for film school is a lot different than someone going to USC for film school, right? Because they're in LA, they're in the industry.
Yeah.
They're going to get a lot of different opportunities than me. But figuring out how I can use these tools, connections, situations, and then bring them to where I want to go.
Yeah.
And whether it's music, creation, all art, you can find, like, life is cyclical. So even if you think you're doing something generational and brand new, odds are in history, some format of it has happened.
100%.
And so finding those elements of, I guess, like pseudo mentors, like people that you can look up to historically that are doing the thing, and find those tools and how you can apply them to your stuff. I think that will take you a lot further. Like, the two biggest things I got out of going to college, like I'm probably the worst advocate for Montana State right now, but I don't think that people should go to film school unless they're going there to get connections and to build their toolbox.
Yeah.
Because you can learn, and today, like YouTube University, on set, you can, like, from a film standpoint.
Totally.
And I think apply it to a lot of music. Like, you can learn a lot of this stuff on the internet. The one thing you can't learn on the internet as easy is face-to-face peer connections with people that are going through the same thing at the same exact time as you.
Yep.
And when you have those connections and peer group that you can use, then you'll go so much further, because you have people that'll hold you accountable. You have people that will also push you because they're also doing stuff that you can look at, look towards. And you have a base of people that you can, like, build art with. I still work with a lot of people that I went to film school with in multiple facets, not even just film stuff, just life stuff. Like, I'll, text someone if I need life advice or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like those connections, like, that's all, in my opinion, like, that's what life is. It's like, it's all connections. And you can choose to have good connections and bad connections. But I think you have to value your connections. And I think as an artist, that's a big group of people that you, like, an important group of people that you need to have.
Yeah, totally. Just using them to your advantage. Like, if you have them, use them, like, to the advantage, and, like, not many people have the opportunities on the flip side that we have, where it's like there isn't a whole lot of things happening in a way. So it's like, go for it, because that's the start of it. That's the way to get yourself out there, to get on the map, to be, embedded in the community, is to, like, go for it and, like, stop sitting back and waiting for something to happen, because it's like, no one's going to hold your hand through it. If you want it, you got to go get it. You got to be hungry.
Well, you can sit in your room and make a song and listen to it 1,000 times and you'll hate it.
Yeah.
It can be the best song ever. You'll hate it because you've listened to it so much and you've just, like, flattened it out in your mind. Yeah. You have no emotional attachment. And so having a peer group that you can bounce a song off to, that will give you, like, this is not this is fire.
Right.
This is gas. This is bad.
Oh, right.
Like, those types of things, like, that doesn't do anything for you. But if you have someone that you can send it and be like, I really liked this element of the song.
The drums could use mixing.
Right. But then you give, actual critique that has substance.
Yes.
Those people are invaluable because they'll push you and challenge you and keep you from listening to the song 1,000 times, right?
Or plateauing, and never, like, trying to raise the bar or even, like, work towards getting better. Because I feel like after a while, you hit that point where you're just, like, you're either making the same stuff that you've always made, and you don't raise any higher, you don't be any more creative, or, like, the flip side, you just quit and you stop, Yeah.
And I think that you need to have those people that, and then on the flip end, like, tell you when it's done,
right? Because
it's very easy. Like, I did it for an extra month probably than I needed to with the documentary, and just being like, this isn't perfect.
Right.
It'll never be perfect.
But that's the humanity
Absolutely.
in the art
and it
in
shows
the form of
shows
creation.
the realness of it,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And so you need to have those people in your peer group that you can trust and that you value their input and be willing to like share your art with them prior to sharing it with everyone.
Yeah.
Because it'll make everything better.
It will. Yeah. That's like the icing on the cake,
Right.
to a finished product, is being able to like send it to all your people and just like be like, yes, this is it, or go back to the lab.
Right? Yeah. Oh, I love getting text messages and you just see it's like an attached file.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay.
Let's go.
Here, let me find a time to sit down and actually like envelop myself in this project.
Totally. Yeah.
And give you an honest feedback. And so
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
That's great, man. Well, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. Is there anything that you wanted to add? I mean, we got the 30th, the doc is showing at the Roxy. I know we've chatted, it's showing around the state, hopefully.
Yeah, so Last of the Nobodies premiere, Montana premiere is in Missoula on April 30th. We're doing double showing, and then we're working on doing a film tour through our Montana communities to at least show it where most of the artists are from.
Mm-hmm.
We're still working on that, but hopefully by this summer. It's doing the film circuit now, and hopefully it'll, after it gets done with that, we'll put it online so that everyone can witness it. And if you want to listen to the music, it's you can go lastofthenobodies.com and get it there, or really just type in Last of the Nobodies on any streaming site and check it out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, of course, man. Of course. If you haven't, go follow Colter Olmstead on Instagram. Go check out his YouTube page where you can see way, 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 way back in the early days of his film career. The Skinny Filmer on YouTube. Go check that out. And yeah, man, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on.